Amigathon is back! Join the Amigos on Saturday, July 7th as they play Amiga games for at least 12 hours to benefit the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. For each dollar you donate, we'll play 1 minute of the Amiga game of your choice. Click the link in the description or go to extra-life.org/participant/Amigathon to donate today. Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about UGG.
Good God, y'all.
What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing.
This show is sponsored by AL8. It's not really, but it could be if you represent AL8. I got these this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, in my father's homeland of Louisville, Kentucky.
That's a great homeland for bar hopping.
This is, AL8 is a beverage that comes from Kentucky.
Yes.
This and bourbon are the two most valuable exports.
That's good drinking.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little bit of cherry 7-Up with a little bit of ginger ale.
These mix well with any sort of booze.
That's right.
I might add.
I'm into, maybe I'll save that for insert disc 2.
What's that?
I was going to have some Fireball this evening.
Oh, geez.
It's been a while
Yeah,
since
you
we
better
opened
save
that up.
that. Yeah, Ale81, the official drink in Kentucky. I was just telling Boat that they've got this, the non-cherry version of this on tap at the local Dairy Queen right down the street from where I work. So, and the diet version.
It's a magical place, Kentucky.
Now, why do you figure they call it Ale81?
Well, I know the answer to that because on the label,
Yeah.
it tells you the secret. So Ale81 sort of sounds like a late one.
I kind of got that, yeah.
Now, why they call it a late one, maybe because it was popular in the late night soda joints back in the 30s.
Those existed?
I don't know.
Late night soda joints?
You know,
what
underground.
Did you do in there?
Just clandestine activities.
Is that where they had the underground domino ring or something?
When they're drinking soda, you know, they're...
joint? How many urinals were in that joint? Hundreds. But this stuff goes right through
It's
you.
right next door to the opium den.
I thought it had tons of
Popular back then.
caffeine in it. Let's see, shall we?
I don't know that caffeine level is given on a nutrition fact.
Well, I mean, I just assumed it would keep you awake. Wouldn't that be...
That's true. A late one. Like, I'm going out for a late one. Better take a 6 Ale8.
But I've drank these, and I wasn't like... I mean, this right here takes care of your business on that.
That's true.
Or Diet Dewdrop Extreme.
The best.
You know, but still, thanks for the bottle of weird pop.
No problem. No problem. So, Aaron, we got some feedback from last week.
All right.
We had a couple new Patreon supporters.
All right.
Joe the Zombie wrote in.
Does Creepy Dead Boy know Joe?
I think they might be,
The roomies
sort of
in
related.
the graveyard?
He says, I love your podcast. Immediate supporter. You guys rock. Andrew Monks also became a supporter. And a third guy who wrote a letter to us, and he says, all right, with many great thanks for your work, which has been amongst the most cheering elements of the past 6 months. He says, after a protracted period of illness and surgery last year, the show arrived just in time for rehabilitation work and reconditioning across the summer months, and I listened to the whole archive across that period.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
This guy's name is Raleigh Burke, and he had an A500 growing up. He bought it in October of 1989 when he was a tender young lad of 8, so he's the same age as me. He got it for Shadow of the Beast. Just like so many
Your
Amiga
favorite.
fans, yeah. And so he wrote us a real nice letter about how not only did he play games on the Amiga, but he also used the Amiga in terms of preparing visualizations, photogrammetry. I don't know what that is, but that sounds like something smart people do. And also conference presentations. So sometimes we forget in our world of the Amiga, which is all games all the time, that there's a lot of practical applications for the Amiga.
Just gaming.
And so thank you very much, Raleigh.
You know, I read Raleigh's letter, and Raleigh is one articulate individual.
He is.
He's a very astute man, and it was very nice. And I like getting... It's very, not to sound cornball, because I always say, but it's very humbling to get a note like that. I think to myself, someone of this caliber, or anybody's caliber, if you heard us talking before the show, this weird no brow humor.
It's even lower. It's funny because my head professor in Sheffield, when I was in England, he went to a university called Loughborough University.
Ooh.
And it's kind of it's not like, Oxford or Cambridge, but it's a pretty good university. And I looked at it, and because I was going to go interview one of his old teachers. And I said, and I looked at it and I didn't know how to pronounce it. I said, so you went to Lowbrow University? He did not appreciate that at all. He's
getting yourself over worldwide,
he went, it's Loughborough. And then he just looked at me.
Loughborough sounds a lot better.
Yeah.
It sounds like a German beer.
It does. Luftbrausers.
Pop me open a Luftbrauer. Did I say that right?
I wish I could. I wish I had one right here.
Well.
We got some feedback about our Lethal Weapon episode. And so Figgy CTZ, Patreon supporter, he says he agrees with us about the game. It's a solid platform, and the controls are very refined. He loves the music, especially on the first level.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
He sees that there was a split in platformers from 93 and on. He said that's when games like Super Frog, Simon the Sorcerer, Sleepwalker came out. He says the graphics kind of there was sort of a turning point in that between 92 and 93 where things just started to look a lot better, and Lethal Weapon was part of that. So,
and who'd have thunk it?
Yeah,
because that's a game I'd never ever played or even knew about.
His particular theory is that this was when the A1200 and the 4000 were coming out, and so more and more developers were developing for the Amiga and not just porting things from the ST to the Amiga at that point. So,
glorious days, those days.
One more piece of feedback. Santar 5.
Ooh.
Wait a minute, no, it's Santar then 5 hours ago, but sorry.
Santar 5 sounds pretty good.
That does.
You can use that, Santar.
You have our permission. He says Lethal Weapon was the first game he tried with his 1 megabyte expansion for the 500.
Ooh.
Yeah. Extra memory detected.
Yes, yeah. I knew you were. I was waiting for it.
He says, my copy had a bug where it locked up when he tried to switch characters, so I always wondered how Murtaugh played. Another great thing about classic computer gaming.
How who played?
Murtaugh. Is that how you say it?
Murtaugh? No.
How do you say it?
It's not Murtaugh, is it?
How do you say it?
Well, I don't know. I never thought of it. Let me see what it looks like on the page.
Murtaugh.
Yeah, maybe. I guess so. I don't think that's the way they pronounce it.
Is it Loughborough?
It's been a while since I saw that movie.
You knew enough about it to tear me to pieces. I make one small mistake.
What are you talking about? You confuse it completely with Die Hard.
So thank you, Santar 5. We appreciate your patronage and your service.
And your made-up name.
That's true. Aaron.
I like just toss it aside.
It's been 3 weeks since our last live Amigos show. The news has been piling up.
Not really, no. But yeah, we have piled up quite a bit of news.
Before we get into the news, you
Yeah.
have before you a manila, no, it's more of a plastic. It's one of those new style envelopes.
That's right.
You get things from China in those.
Well, this actually came from Florida, but I'm sure the contents were not from Florida.
Would you like to tell us about it?
Absolutely. So this is probably, you know, the old thing. If it's news to me, all right. This falls into that category. So you'll recall, Boat, that on the Amigos official retread Amiga 500, now we never had a power supply for that thing due to our cheapery, and so we used the old Polish
inverter
gimmick.
That's right.
The old AT power supply.
They call it the Polish Miracle.
Is that what they call that? Well, hey, those parties look like the Polish Miracle from what I saw on the video. So anyway, one of the problems with the Amiga is that crazy power gimmick in the back. So I'm bebopping around eBay the other day, and lo and behold, look what I see on there as I pour this thing out. This, for you at home, is the power thing.
It's that weird, like,
this is it.
5 dice.
That's right.
Thing,
someone is manufacturing these bad boys and selling them. See, this goes in here. You put your wiring in. Wham, bam, Bob's your uncle.
Very nice.
So you could wire up practically anything you want to that power supply. Now, I think I paid like $7 for it, and they had a ton of these. Now, again, I hadn't seen them before, and we'd always lamented how you could never get them. Mm-hmm. And so they just appeared one day. And so if you're looking, if you get on eBay and just look.
What do you search for to find that?
Amiga power plug. I believe is what I looked up. In fact, I didn't even look it up. It just came up.
It just came to you.
It just came up. And so you've even got the casing here. And then you've got a gimmick here to put on the end of the cord.
I like that. Sort of spring-loaded.
Well, yeah. And so what you can do is, what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to wire this sucker up Well, I might use one of those. Remember we talked about the lady a couple weeks ago who did the video of her using that little micro power supply.
Mm-hmm.
This right here would go perfect with that. You do this on the end, wham bam, Bob's your uncle.
Yeah.
That's what I'll probably try.
That sounds great.
And I'll shoot a video of it if I do. But anyway, hey, for $6 or $7, if you're looking for a cheap power supply alternative, there's your plug right there. I mean, you could make these, but like I said, I've been using that one that came from Poland that they sort of jury rigged, and it's quirky because it could pop out at any moment. So there you go. So just a little tidbit. If you don't know about it, now you know.
You ready to move on?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
The news.
So I'm just going to kind of arbitrarily get this because we've been gone for a little while, and I can't remember what we did and what we didn't do. So let's talk about Rough and Ready.
Okay.
This is the continuing saga of these cartoon games. Now, and from Hanna-Barbera. Now, I as I mentioned, when I read this, this is another Dreamcatcher article, of course. I don't remember Rough and Ready.
Me neither.
At all.
Me neither.
And when I look at them, there's a vague familiarity to them, but
I'm shocked because this is normally something that's in your wheelhouse.
It's shocking to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Rough, and the thing is, I remember when we kept getting Rough and Ready confused with another game we were
Rough and Tumble.
And you said it over and over. I think you even build it the next week or
Probably
next week, Rough
so.
and Ready. So, but this is a incredibly deep look into this game and all the various versions of it from Dreamcatcher. Speaking of him, here's another one. This one hit me hard. Dreamcatcher looked at the game, a Scooby-Doo game, but it's basically you can play as Scrappy dude. You remember? Did you watch Scooby-Doo?
Absolutely, I watched.
So you remember this little guy?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't stand Scrappy, even in the old days. I never liked him. I didn't like gimmicky, cutesy characters. They would, and it seems like the cartoons had them every time.
They added them often. I think it was when the initial viewership started to flag, they needed to inject something in there.
Right, but I mean, okay. I'm just gonna go run through a few of these that always piss me off. Right. Okay, you got the Thundercats. All right, you got all these big buff killers, hot, Panther, Chipper.
Lion Woman.
Then you got here comes Snarf to come in here. You already got the darn twins. Do we need Snarf running around like an idiot?
What about that? What about the show with the twins and one of them? Then there was that Blob. This was like Thundar,
Gleep and Gloop. They were okay because they didn't talk.
Okay.
But here's something that did talk. So you got another show with a bunch of buff killers. There's hot chicks aplenty, cool bad guy. You hear it's He-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Here comes freaking Orko. All right, another goofy character that no one asked for. No one wanted this guy.
Nobody asked for Orko.
Am I wrong here? When you go out to get your action figure, it's like, let's see, I've got He-Man, I got Tila. Oh, I'm going to get the Orko character. He's a goof.
You needed a character like that in He-Man because He-Man was slightly frightening to the young children, and he needed somebody.
No, it was not.
It was slightly frightening to me.
You were scared of the He-Man characters?
Which one
scared you the most?
Skeletor. He's a skull face.
I'll give you that.
He's a skull face killer. He's one of
skull face. There's a rap name for you right there. But so anyway, Scrappy Doo was like them, but more annoying. I couldn't stand this little goof.
Yeah, I didn't like Scrappy Doo.
Another guy. You got Next Generation. You got these cool characters. Here comes Will, the 10-year-old that's manning the helm. Who thought that was a good idea?
Right.
Let's just let the kid man the helm of this intergalactic starship.
Now, did Babylon 5 have its own Will Crusher?
Absolutely not.
They were having no truck with any of that stuff.
No, they weren't going. Are you kidding me? That's a serious show. They don't have that kind of crap. Anyway, it's a good article. I've not played the Scooby and Scrappy game and shan't be playing. I did watch the movie where they.
Oh my gosh!
Have you seen
that?
This?
Looks like an abomination.
No, it's actually the guy they got playing Shaggy's pretty good, but Scooby's in the or Scrappy's in the film, and I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but it's pretty amusing.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Oh, another one. Remember that you got the Super Friends, Superman, Batman. You always have to. Here comes the Wonder Twins with their monkey.
Can't they also turn into water?
One can turn into water-based stuff. One of them can turn like animal-based stuff. Who got the worst end of that deal?
Yeah, that sounds.
Form of I remember they'd always Gleek would carry the bucket around so they could put that water guy in the bucket, and then Jaina would carry them all. She'd turn into an eagle or a giant hawk or something. Are you kidding me?
That's pretty dumb.
That's Heredity really screwing you over. Yeah. You got the ability to turn into water. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Right.
You know?
Can it be water in any form? Could it be like a gas?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you could do steam attack. It's right in the eyes.
It's still lame. Who wants it? What's your superpower? I could turn to steam. Well, get it out.
I guess because you eventually just kind of drift away.
Make me uncomfortable like a sauna. Get it out. Anyway, I could go on that forever. So, moving on. Now, this was a great one. The brutal one. You know the one. Brutal Barracuda. Keep it in tune with the gimmick.
The cartoon gimmick.
40 Amiga games that were also cartoons. Now, that's a lot.
It's a lot of games.
Now, did he miss any? I don't know. But he covered a lot of these. And
I would like to play some of these. I was watching this the other day, and I'm kind of a sucker for crap. And and a lot of these, like this game, the Smurf game.
This is not up your alley.
This is probably
all the games for you to start on. You pick this one.
To be honest with you, I stopped watching it right before this, and it instantly sort of
remember
scared
this game because you're a ninja killing Smurfs or whatever you are. I guess you're.
But that Hagar the Horrible game, like first of all, who's not a Hagar the Horrible fan?
Me.
What?
How long has it been since Hagar the Horrible? We talked about him.
I don't think we've ever discussed him on this podcast.
Exactly. He's just a generic, weird character. I know she went back to the Smurfs.
Well, I wanted to get back to Hagar. Look at this now. This
Hong
is
Kong Phooey.
This is the heck. This
Remember
is the heck.
song?
Oh, I can sing the song.
Hong Kong Phooey, #1 super guy.
Right.
I think Scatman Crothers was the voice of Hong Kong Phooey.
What else is he known for?
He was in The Shining. He was.
Scatman Crothers?
Yeah.
Are you positive that he was in The Shining?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's super famous. He's been in tons of films. Or you don't know who he is, do you?
No. I just have a hard time believing that anyone named Scatman Crothers would appear in a Stephen King film.
He did scat, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, like the Scatman.
No, that guy's a cheap imitation of Scatman Crothers.
I don't believe it. If anybody's ripping off anybody, it's the other way
you're
around.
a big jazz guy. I thought you knew who Scatman Crothers was.
No.
You need to turn in your jazz.
Turn in the jazz
phony
card.
baloney metal. You really hose that thing up. So let's keep a move on here. I'm gonna skip past this. So. Okay. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention in that 40 greatest cartoons, a lot of Hanna-Barbera crapiola in there. Hanna-Barbera, the licensing machine for the Amiga, and they never stopped.
That's how they fund all of their new animations.
Okay, here's another one. Speaking of cartoons, now this one I've never heard of. I think this is a British TV property. You ever heard of a show called Round the Bend?
No.
Round the Bend. It looks like it stars. Let me look here. It looks like an alligator and a rat and a weasel. I don't know what the hell that is. Maybe it's a mole or something. I don't know. I've never heard of this. I looked over this and I just had no basis for any idea what was happening.
Yeah.
The Dreamcatcher, and I don't know how obscure this is either.
You know, this.
But
it just goes to show that we think we know about British TV, but we don't know anything about British
I don't
TV.
think that. But one thing he goes into here is how they took this Round the Bend game, and they were like, all right, screw that. And they just basically changed a couple things and released it as a game. It's like, here it is, same game. It's back again. Okay, now you stop me if we've heard from these before.
Okay.
So, another Dreamcatcher joint. And I don't know if we talked about this. It's actually we may have talked about it. Is Baby Joe is Going Home, the baby platformer. Now he's released the script for this. It's up on the G Plus page, but I don't know if we talked about the video or not. Did you watch?
I don't think we covered this. I think this came out right before.
Have you read this yet?
No.
That's high weirdness right there. It's a baby platformer.
It looks kind of like the guy from Roger Rabbit.
Wasn't
his name Baby Ralph?
Baby Herman or something?
Baby Herman, that's what it was.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
We have not talked about Dreamcatcher's interview with Andrew Morris.
Oh, now this. I'm glad you brought that up. This is tremendous. He goes into questions about what in God's name happened on Kid Chaos, which is we're going to bring him up later, but that's been a continual puzzlement to us, is this guy's bizarre backstory. Mm-hmm. So it turns out, I'd heard some of this before, but it turns out up till very close to the release, that was going to be a cat.
Right.
And so But they decided to change it, and the publisher was like, "Nah, we don't want a cat. We want something else.
We want a big, dumb-looking caveman teenager."
Did you catch the name of the cat?
Cosmic Kitten?
Cosmic Kitten. Now,
I think probably Kitten. You don't want to go with that because that's too wimpy. But Cosmic Cat, there's nothing wrong with that.
well, I mean, let's face facts here, and no offense to anyone, but that don't sound like a winning formula either to me.
Cosmic Cat?
Cosmic Kitten.
Well, Cosmic Kitten, no. But
They didn't say Cosmic Cat, did they? They said Cosmic Kitten.
They should have ran it by us.
Well, oh yeah, that would have really worked. But this is a heck of an interview. I mean, think about it, man. What a get. And this is really good. It's been a while since I read it, but I mean, I really liked it.
Yeah.
So, you get some scoop on magnetic fields, and it was very interesting read. So if you haven't read this yet, for God's sakes, go pick this one up. I got to make sure I get this on the Google Plus page because it's really, really a heck of an interview, and it solves some of those questions that you may have had about Kid Chaos, the weird caveman,
and again,
doo-wop killer.
If you're listening, if you're a listener of this podcast and you never go to our site, everythingamiga.com is where you can find all of these articles, plus links to all of our videos and all of the interviews. It's a real treasure trove of Amiga goodness.
It's a treasure trove, all right. So let's get into a little site stuff that I can't remember. I don't think you have put anything up here recently, have you? Is there anything I missed?
I don't think so.
So we had Brutal Barracuda has put up a couple mail bags in our absence. If you would like to go back and watch us get mail, we like it. So yeah, feel free to check those out. We did several Insert Disc 2. I don't know if we've pushed them or not. Including we did one where we talked about what would happen if the Amiga had never died, and when I say we talked about it, I mean we touched on a bunch of stuff, and that had to be one of those. And then what did we talk about last
week?
Time?
We talked about multitasking.
That's right,
yeah.
Multitasking. So that was another interesting bit there. We have two new.
ARG Presents.
ARG Presents have came out in the past. I had my brain just sort of short-circuited there for a minute. I think it's the AL81. I think it's kicking in. We did one on the Beeb, and by the way, and I mentioned this on the last episode of ARG, but the guy, remember that I don't know if you heard. Did you listen to the last ARG? You can lie and say you did. The guy that actually programmed that Phoenix knockoff was responded that he had done some other games. And he did the Frogger knockoff as well on the Beep. So he was a Beep programmer. And then one of the guys that actually runs that site we were playing the games off of.
He also commented on
so that got some interesting. Who knew?
Right.
They were probably baffled that two goofballs from West Virginia are playing BBC micro games. And I ended up watching the BBC micro film, which we talked about. So I'll talk about that in Insert Disc 2. But I was beebing it up for a weekend there. And then, and we should probably talk about this, as we've never really formally addressed it, but last week, me and Brent, the Brentster, the round mound, the sound, we talked about the Atari Jaguar. And I pronounced it Jaguar the entire episode. I went back and listened to it, and I was appalled at my own.
Why? That's how we pronounce it here in America.
Well, it's not the way it's supposed to be pronounced. And someone's going, oh, those bloody Americans, they cannot pronounce Jaguar. And pronounce it Jaguar. And
Jaguar.
We do.
That's what they did. The Jacksonville Jaguars.
The Jacksonville Jaguars. That's what we call them. There's a W in there. That's what we say. But we played Pinball Fantasy Island. Remember him, Mr. Rourke?
I've never seen Fantasy Island.
You've never seen Fantasy Island?
No.
You know who his little buddy was? Tattooed?
Yeah, Hervé Villachez.
Yeah. You need to watch some of those. At one point, Mr. Rourke fights the devil.
Oh, that sounds great.
Enough said.
Is that the same as Love Boat?
Came on directly after the Love Boat.
Are they tied together producer. In any way?
The Love Boat did dock at Fantasy Island occasionally, yes. That's the truth, so there you go. Anyway, and Brent looked at Bubsy. This game, boy, not good. Another in a long line of garbage platformers that we have looked at. Why don't you tell everyone in a formal statement what's going on with ARG Presents? Since some of the people here, I'm sure, listen to ARG Presents, so why don't you give them the scoop?
All right. So
kicked him off.
Let it be known that Aaron has fired me from my own show, Steve Jobs style.
That Lethal Weapon episode pushed me over the edge, and you had to go.
We've decided that that 3 shows a week for Mr. Boat is 1 show too many. I was becoming very stretched with the amount of time that I was putting into this stuff, and the show was becoming more of a job than something fun. And I always told Aaron, whenever that happens, we got to change something. So I've stepped away from ARG, and I'll be back. I might do some guest appearances if Aaron will have me over.
Is it a threat or a promise?
Amigos Studios East, where it's filmed.
If you could take Brent down, you're in. Battle to the death.
But like I said, I love Amigos is my first love. I'll never leave it. As long as there's a podcast, there will be Amigos. But ARG, even though I sort of spearheaded the whole ARG concept,
fully created
and
placed it out.
Yeah, it was just like I said, guys. I want to be able to concentrate my full efforts on what I do for Amigos, and then have some time left over to play stuff. Not necessarily sit down and say, well, I've got to do this for the show because the show is this week. And so, but I'm glad that ARG is continuing. I did watch it. I didn't just pretend to watch it. I truly watched it. And you guys are doing a great job. I can't wait when you get some of the other guests on there, when Will Cox is on there. And there's so many people that we know that are so colorful. That's the best adjective I know to describe them.
Yeah.
Maybe Chad will even wear his Indiana Jones costume on the show.
It was requested. Well, me and Brent we're going to go ahead and listen. Boat's right. He was spread thin. But given my low, I set my sights low, as you know, real low. And so this allows me to splinter myself into several hundred shards and just spread them across project after project.
It's spreading the dowdy
Each
love.
one of them half-assier than the next. Right? That's sort of my motto. And so with that in mind, I thought to myself, hey, who do I know that fits the Aaron frame of mind? Well, why don't you bring in Brent? And Brent hopped in, so we're going to be running the show. We are going to occasionally have another person come on and join us in the arcade. We'll be shooting, I guess we're going to permanently shoot ARG over in Amigos Studios East, and hopefully with some better. We're working on it, but it looked okay, but it wasn't the best. But we're going to keep the ball rolling.
Why don't you give a little teaser for what you're going to be talking about this week?
Well, this week I had to bargain with Brent because you don't just come and take over Boat Spot on ARG. It has to be. I had to beg to get someone to take that seat. No one wants it because I'm on the other side of it. So Brent said, "Listen, I came in, I played this god awful game that Boat picked for me off the wheel, so I get to pick whatever I want this next go around." And so I relented, of course, because I fold like Superman on Laundry Day.
I use that all the time.
Oh yeah,
the first time you told me that.
So Brent chose this week. We did not spin the wheel or make the deal. He chose to play games from the Famicom floppy disk collection, which I've played practically nothing.
Well, you've played more than you think, because a lot of those games came out in cartridge form on the NES.
Well, I understand. So, so we're going to play a couple games off that, and then I think we're going to reintroduce the wheel and give that a whirl. Get it?
Yeah.
And see how that goes. But we're still finding our footing.
And those shows are not going to be live streamed, correct?
No, I don't have the capacity to do that yet. Possibly in the future, but our taping, the way we're filming these is going to be weird because Brent's schedule is a lot like Boat's. I've got apparently nothing going on. I can just schedule another show. I'm going to do a show on beekeeping one week, and agree with everything. So, but yeah, that's what's going on. The Amigos are solid. We're not going anywhere.
That's right.
But and Boat will still be around. I can't get rid of him. But
I'm Ozymandias.
For the foreseeable future, it's a Brent and Aaron joint. There you go.
Aaron, it's time. We talked about the news. We talked about the feedback.
No, I'm not done. I got more to talk about.
Talk away, man.
Because, today's game. All right, tell them what today's game is.
So today's game is UGG.
UGG, all right? And so me and Boat got to talking a couple days ago or a couple weeks ago. I can't remember what we talked about, but we're talking about, hey, there was a lot of games that were like based on caveman prehistory. So I went out and wrote down as many as I could find on the Amiga. And I thought we'd just go through a few just for fun.
Okay.
And discuss them and see which ones you've heard of, right? So these are the ones I found. Now, first of all, we know that no list like this is complete. There's going to be some obscure thing or something not obscure that I'm just an idiot on, okay? But I thought I'd write some of these down. So the ones I found, and some of these we've played, there's a game called Big Nose the Caveman. Have you heard of that one?
Yes.
You have? Is that
Received a console release.
really?
Yep. I believe that it was a Aladdin.
Oh, that weird.
Weird
the
thing.
weird system on the NES.
And I think that it had a sequel called Big Nose Freaks Out.
You've got to be joking.
I'm not joking.
We need to play those. Big Nose Freaks Out.
Uh-huh.
What was Big Nose up to?
Let's listen to a lot of Zappa. There it
You're
is.
right. I'll be darned. There it is. So Big Nose the Kid. Now you've not played Big Nose, I'm guessing.
No, I've never played it.
Another game in the caveman genre. You ever heard of this one? I know you have. BC Kid.
Yes.
All right, we played BC Kid, and very popular. Or would you say this is? Well, we'll wait, but that's probably the best caveman game out of most of them.
Between that and Big Nose, I think BC Kid has the edge.
So the next one in line, Kid Chaos. That's
Right.
why I threw him in there, despite the fact he's not looking like a cave. He looks like a caveman.
he represents a
Letterman's
race
jacket.
of cavemans. It's
It's just like he's like Zool.
Right.
He's not a caveman, but he represents a race of cavemen. So then you've got Cave Mania.
that I don't know about.
Cave Mania 3. See The Rock take on Stone Cold.
You know, I'm surprised there's never been a caveman wrestler.
There should be one. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think if I remember anyone doing a caveman gimmick. Or I thought, man, I'm sure in the 50s.
Because I mean, like, it's perfect.
Now there
for,
was a guy called the Missing Link. How about that?
That's pretty caveman.
Yeah. So, Cave Mania. I've not played that one. Now you got Chuck Rock and Chuck Rock, son of Chuck. Now we have had a cup of coffee with these. We never reviewed them or took a look at them. I've played them a bunch of times. Have you played Chuck Rock?
I don't
Great
think
music.
so. Are those platformers?
Yeah, and at the beginning of Chuck Rock, there's like a caveman band that plays.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
And they're pictured up there. It's really cool.
Is it like the Rockefeller explosion?
Rockefeller Explosion. Be a whole different band. Then you've got Joe and Mac, Caveman Ninja. Now that's an arcade port, and that came over to the Amiga.
Well, there are lots of Joe and Mac games.
Well, on the Amiga, there's just one.
And
Have you-
Caveman Ninja, I can't comment on it. I mean, can you be a
have you not
caveman?
played this one?
No, I mean I played Joe and Mac, but I played on the Super Nintendo. I've never played Caveman Ninja.
Yeah, you can be a Caveman Ninja, I guess. Depends.
Hey.
I guess if cavemen are in Japan.
That's true. They would have had to have been.
So, then you got a game called Prehistoric with a K.
That's
No, nothing on that one. I haven't played that one either. Now, what list would be complete without the Flintstones?
Right. Now, I have played many Flintstones games. In fact, I played one to completion on a stream not long ago.
This one looks like some sort of adventure game. It doesn't. It's not like an action game.
Like a point and click, like a.
I don't know. It looked real strange.
Really?
Yeah, it was a weird one. Now,
Well, let me tell you. The one of the first CDs I ever bought was the Flintstones soundtrack from the movie. Do you remember the movie with John Goodman as Fred?
Yeah, I didn't go see that. I was appalled at that.
And there, of course, it was all the B-52s did most of them. They were the BC-52s.
Yeah.
And Green Jelly. Do you remember that band, Green Jelly?
Yeah,
They
were
did-
Green Jello, and they changed their
right.
name.
And they did a cover of Anarchy in the UK, but they called it Anarchy in Bedrock.
Man.
And finally,
Everything about this
to
is
complete
horrible.
it, the Crash Test Dummies did a song called "In the Days of the Caveman." So I'll just let you think about what that might sound like.
As an added, I'll just throw this in. The Flintstones movie got a pinball machine. All right. And the back glass on this is classic like 90s baloney, right? That back
That was a
glass,
Data East, probably.
the back glass on it has like the people from the film. So
Right.
you've got John Goodman, Rosie O'Donnell, all these goofballs. Well, guess what? Nobody wants that at home in 2000XX. Nobody. You look up like another movie tie-in movie like that was The Phantom had a
Yeah.
pinball machine, and that had what's his dude in it? Baldwin, right? He played, so the backlash is just a big picture of Baldwin going like,
Right.
Nobody wants that.
Johnny Mnemonic's like that too.
So what they've done is they've retrofitted these with better, less annoying pictures.
A wise decision.
You know, so and that was one. And now, unfortunately, you can't change the sound samples. So you're
Although they're working on it, I'm sure.
So anyway, the Flintstones. That's one you might want to put on your wacky list there. Here's another one I had to throw in here. Now this one is slightly controversial, but there's cavemen in it, so I put it in here. One of my personal favorites, Primal Rage.
Yeah.
Primal Rage, the dinosaur
you
fighting
eat
game.
the cavemen, right?
You can also whack them with your. You can kick them and whatnot. No, but they're back in the background worshiping and stuff. It's pretty cool. And they actually get involved in a game where you play. I think you could pick one of the village up and play Pong with them.
Really?
Yeah, if you get to a certain, there's a hidden thing. Now this is a very controversial one, but I stuck it in here and I'll let you be the judge. Toki. Do you remember Toki?
Yeah, we did an episode on
Right. That's sort of caveman-y. He's more a jungle man.
Where do you draw? There's such a thin line between caveman and
Yeah,
jungle
that
man.
was, I was like, eh. And then, now I had to include a couple. Now, these were not released on Amiga. I just picked a couple that I really liked, so I mentioned them here. One of them was BC's Quest for Tires. I can't believe this didn't come out in the Amiga.
I'm surprised by that too.
It was out on the Atari 8-bits, the Apple II, Coleco, C64, DOS. Everyone got one, the ZX, but not us. And then the sequel to that, which I had played, it was really good too. I don't know if you ever played it, BC Quest for Tires 2, Grog's Revenge. Another game that got a C64 release. I don't know why we weren't getting any of this action. I mean, they're older games, but you could have, come on, give it to us.
Was BC still relevant in the early 90s?
No. But I mean, 85, yeah, you could probably put them on there. And last one, we talked about this one quite a bit the other day, the Caveman Ugg Olympics, or what was it on the NES?
Just caveman games.
Caveman they did change the name. I looked up, same game. This was another C64 title, and also was out on the PC and the NES.
So
great game.
I have a story behind this.
All right, yeah.
Okay. So probably my 12th or 13th birthday. We were staying with my uncle's cabin in Hinton. You been to Hinton before?
I've been to Hinton. They got a lake up there.
Yeah. So this is in the middle of nowhere. They don't have TV. Of course, I was never allowed to bring like a video game system on these trips. They did have TV. They didn't have cable. I watched a lot of Star Trek reruns they had on VHS. Anyway,
tremendous.
My birthday comes. And I'm like, oh man, I bet mom and dad, they haven't told me, but they brought like a bunch of presents and a cake and all this, and they're just waiting to spring it on me because they know my birthday is during our vacation and they wouldn't just leave me hanging. So my birthday comes and they're like, happy birthday. And I was like, where's all the stuff? And they're like, we'll take you to Kmart and you can pick out a Nintendo game. And I was just like, it's the worst birthday ever because like grandma and grandpa aren't here. Like they always get me presents and stuff. I was upset.
You were getting jobbed out.
I was. So we went to Kmart and I still remember this clear as day. They had the big wall of NES games you could choose from. And I was like, man, I've played Ninja Turtles before, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and this is a good game. I really want to get Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But then as soon as I was reaching up to grab it, I saw it. Caveman games. And the box is dumb. I mean, it's real dumb looking. It's like the tiers where you stand on when you get your trophy, and it's like somebody whacking somebody. And I don't know why I thought that was cool.
It is cool. I disagree with you.
But for whatever reason, I was like, I'll take caveman games. So,
no, wait, was this the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original NES
This is
one?
the original
You
NES
made the right
one.
call.
Well, at any rate, so I've got caveman games, right? And we're on our way back to the cabin, and I'm just thinking it's going to be another week before I can fire this up. And so I've memorized that manual, every word in it. This is the big disappointment about caveman games. It's one of those games that's a button masher. It's your normal track and field game, but this game is so crazy difficult on the NES that you have to have a turbo controller to do some of the events. They're just some you can't physically push the button unless you're some sort of like super freak like your brother that has amazing button pushing powers.
Yeah, he is amazing.
But it was really disappointing. I was disappointed by the game because I didn't feel like I should have chosen Ninja Turtles. That's it. That's the story.
That's a sad tale.
It is. It's really one of the things that sticks out most about my youth. I don't know what that says.
You were a pampered kid. That tells me.
That was the
Good
worst
grief.
thing that ever happened to me.
So I liked Caveman Olympics. That's a great event where you take your mate and throw her by the hair.
You do. It's
hilarious.
It's just like a discus event where you're spinning her around and you let her go.
I don't think we'll be seeing that one in a re-release anytime soon.
No.
You know? It's funny. This is completely off topic, but I was watching a video today of Fernando Valenzuela throwing his no-hit game. This is a baseball player in America. And I love Fernando. I don't know if you remember Fernando.
Oh, yeah.
And Vin Scully's doing the call. Mm-hmm. And he said the date, he goes, this will be a great day for Fernando's kids if he could pull this off. And he throws the ball to double play. He goes, he's done it. He's thrown a no-hitter. He's like, all you people sitting around the house, if you've got a sombrero around, throw it in the air. And I thought to myself, they would come down on Vin Scully for saying that.
He would have been gone. Fired.
And people don't realize that Fernando was a huge Latino man. It was a non-Latino star. He was a huge deal.
Oh yeah. People loved him.
I loved him back
He
in
was
the day,
just barely below the might and the power that was Chris Sabo.
Oh God. I watched Chris Sabo the other day. We'll talk about that later. Here we go. So, with all that in mind, we're really going off on tangents left and right. So, we're going to get into it here. This is UGG. Now, first of all, let's just talk about the name of the game. Okay. UGH exclamation point.
Not exactly something that makes you want to rush out and purchase it.
I'll tell you one thing, brother. If you want to try to do research on the game, wrong name.
It turns out there's a lot of things that have UGG in it.
Yeah, a lot. And so this was not the easy, and there wasn't a lot to find, but it was not the easiest thing I've ever done research on. So this game came out in 1992. One big disc, and it was developed by an outfit called Ego Software. Let's get into Ego just for a minute, just because I found this an unusual outfit, if I can manage to turn the page here. So Ego was they're still around. They're called Egosoft GmbH. I don't know what that means.
We don't know what the GmbH means.
I know. I don't know. But they're a German video game developer based in Würselen, Germany, which I've never heard of. It was a U with a two gimmick over it.
Yeah, that's always trouble.
So they were founded in '88, and their claim to fame is that they are known for the series of games called the X series.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now
that's interesting because I just spent last weekend talking in depth with my cousin, who's also a YouTuber, and he was telling me that I need to try these X games out. What a coincidence!
Yeah. Well, there you go. So, but that was a long time after the Amiga.
Sure,
so
yeah.
I looked at what they did on the Amiga, and this was wacky. And I wanted to go over this with you. So in '89, they did a game called Hotel Detective.
She was a hotel detective. You know that song?
I don't think that exists. And then they did a game called Fatal Heritage. But then they started doing some wacky stuff. So they did a game called R1, R2. And it was a promotional game for something called Reemsma. Which I don't know what that is.
Do you know what that is?
But no, I don't. But here's where it gets more interesting. So '91. So anyway, that was a promotional game. So in '91, they did a game called Aquarius Game. It was a promotional game for Aquarius.
You mean the Mattel Aquarius?
No, I don't know what it's some kind of brand name. Maybe it's German. So the same year, they did a game called Pepsi all over the world. Promotional game for Pepsi. These are on the Amiga.
Really?
Promotional games, yeah. So it's not over. This is the best one. So in '92, they did a game called the Light American Space Game. Promotional game for Philip Morris International.
Oh my gosh, the cigarette folks.
Yes.
Wow.
That same year, they did another game called Come Together Around the World. Promotional game for Peter Stuyvesant.
Stuyvesant, yeah.
You want to help me out there?
Yeah. I've seen that name before, but I don't know where.
So that's the game they did right before UGG. And then they weren't done yet. In '93, they did a game called Elephanton, and that was a promotional game for the World Wildlife Fund for Nature. So they did one, and then the last one they did for the Amiga, the Ketchup Connection, promotional game for Kraft Ketchup.
Wow.
And so they did a bunch of promotional games.
You know, it's amazing. We've been doing this show. This is our 150th episode this week. No, it's not. It's our 149th. I apologize. But we
you just dropped the milestone. This is the 100th. Oh wait, no, it's not. It's nothing.
I've never come across any of these promotional games or any promotional games for the Amiga.
That's not true. We did that one where there was.
Oh yeah, I guess we've done a million of them.
Yeah,
There's like James Pond and
also the one with the puzzle game that had that god
curly
that's
quavers.
It, yeah. So
GmbH, it means, you know how they put LLC at the end of things here?
Yeah.
It's the same thing, limited liability. Thank you, Duncan, in the chat.
You know, I just looked over at the chat, and it said Henrik has mentioned Ega. Mm-hmm. What a film this is.
Have you heard of this before?
I've seen Ega many times.
Is it better or worse than the one that Ringo was the caveman in?
Much worse. The one Ringo was in was called Caveman. It was great because they invent music, and that scene alone was great. But Ega stars the same fellow that played Jaws in the Bond movies.
I'm going to say the same guy that played Jaws.
No. And it's about a caveman that lives out in the deserts in California, and he's a surf boy, and their girlfriend stumbles.
So it's like Encino Man.
No, this caveman is old school, big, lumbering, creepy guy. And there's a scene in it where the caveman has captured a hot girl, and her dad. The dad's impaired; he can't do anything; he's hurt. And so he's telling the girl just to play along with the caveman. So what the caveman wants to do is not savory stuff.
No.
That dad's encouraging the daughter. It's like, yeah, go ahead, spread that on his skin. It's cool. Go ahead. Yeah, help you to work on his hair. It was the most stupid, ludicrous thing you've ever seen. So if you haven't seen Ega, and I'd recommend the Mystery Science Theater version, which is the one to see. Also, for some reason, at one point they're driving along this road, and just off camera, a character you don't ever see or know about goes, "Watch out for snakes." So that's something else I remember about it. Okay, so anyway, Ugh. So again, this came out in '92, one disc, and it was published by an outfit called the publisher on this is kind of weird. In fact, a lot of this is weird. I looked up the developer, Ego Software. They must have been part of Blue Byte to a certain degree.
Which we just talked about on Settlers.
That's right. Because on some of the previews and reviews I saw in magazines, Blue Byte was listed as developing this in-house. I don't know why. I don't know if it was a screw up. I don't know what was going on. But Blue Byte of last week's game. So Settlers, was that what it was? Settlers, yeah. Now this has 2 players max, and you can have 2 players simultaneous play. I didn't get to do this, and I was upset, but I did get to play. I did get to watch people having 2 players. It looked like a lot of fun, and we should absolutely try this sometime. Maybe on the Amiga thon we should try it out. This ran on the original chipset, no problem. And this was an Amiga game originally, but it got ported to the C64 and to DOS as well. So not too bad. And this released with a price point of 25p, 99 or 25 pounds, 99p. So whatever that is in U.S. money at the time.
Money.
Yeah. So I think, is that the normal price for a game? I think
that seems pretty. Yeah, I think that's around that area.
So the story behind this game, and the back of this box, I will say, is amusing. For one thing, it's got a little logo for the Caveman Cabbie Association in the corner, and then on the upper right, it says the 5 Bones Award, Caveman Computing. So they've given themselves an award.
I love it when they do that.
I like the Caveman Computing. That could be a magazine we can see in the future. So basically, the story of this, and I'm just going to read this verbatim because it's so stupid. Our hero is flying around on his board-powered taxi, which is really a crank, a design years ahead of its time. Your task is to help out Prehistoric Cabbie get his woman. Let me say it again. Your task is to help our Prehistoric Cabbie get his woman. She is very demanding and very possessive, as most cave babes are. Probably wouldn't fly again, Curly. And she always wants something new. Washing machines, vacuum cleaners, and gyms.
Wow.
You know, all those little household items that were so handy back in the Stone Age. The only way our hero could give her those things is to work like a nutter caveman cabbie.
What does that mean, a nutter caveman cabbie?
Have the chat explain that to you. So that's a cute way of saying you're a cabbie.
Right.
So this game opens with this great sequence when you start the game of a caveman, a little caveman. He's sleeping under a tree, and an apple falls on him, and he has a revelation. And his revelation is to build this flying box and become a caveman cabbie. And that's what he does. And that's where the game begins, with level 1, and you're the cabbie in the caveman times. So I know you played this extensively. What would your take on the premise and the makeup of the way the levels are structured, the graphics. What'd you think about this stuff?
So I thought that the story was. I mean, it's cute. It's fine.
It's not particularly original, but
Right.
it was amusingly done.
Yeah, and just like so many Amiga games, that they spent time with the intro sequence. Unlike a lot of Amiga games, this one actually has good gameplay after the intro sequence. This game, I thought that the setting was very original. I think that your what is the name of that craft called? What, did they name it?
I don't think it had a name.
Oh, okay. Your
Flying box.
Your flying box.
For those who haven't seen the game, picture a box with a little caveman in it with a crank. Crank it sitting on a seat, and on top of it are two like palm leaves, big ones that like spin around like a helicopter.
Yeah. So I think but I think we don't want to talk about what I think about the game yet. But as far as the production of the intro and my initial look at the game, I was impressed.
So the premise of the game, and really this never changes. The gameplay doesn't change that much, and luckily this game has a level code system, which we love. So I was able to skip through the levels at my leisure, which I needed the help because I couldn't get more than say 6 levels in. You are a caveman, and you start on a map on a screen. It's a single screen game. You're on a platform, and there are caves scattered throughout the level, usually 3 or 4, and each cave has a sign beside it with a little number early on, and a cave person will come out, and you will drive your caveman car up there. You'll land. You'll pick the person up, and they'll say a Roman numeral. They'll say 3, 2, 1, 4, and whichever cave that has that sign in front of it, you just fly over, drop them off. That's it. It's a simple sounding premise. Now it gets more complicated in that the flying machine drives in an interesting way. It's I guess sort of like a helicopter. You push up, and the longer you keep your joystick up, the faster it goes up. You can actually pull down and come down real quick. Yeah, and it really controls pretty well.
Yeah,
but it's difficult enough to make flying interesting. And a lot of the reason it's so tough is because you have a limited amount of real estate on the screen. You can't just go up forever. I mean, the screen doesn't scroll. So once you hit the roof, you've hit the roof. You'll learn early on that if you land too quickly, you will die. If you wing across the screen out of control, you'll die. You'll hit stuff and die. You can also accidentally land on the people that you're trying to pick up. And then you've got real problems because at the bottom of the screen and this varies on different screens, but the bottom of the screen most of the time is some water. And so when you knock these people off, depending on who you knock off, they will fall off the top ledge, the bottom ledge, whichever one they're on, they'll fall into the water, and you have to go rescue them. There are a caveman, cavewoman, but there's an old guy. And most of the time, if you knock them in the water, they'll swim around for a while. You can get down and pick them up. If the old guy,
he sinks like a stone.
He drops like a rock.
Yeah.
And one thing they don't tell you in the docs, they don't tell you anywhere, and you just have to learn it yourself. It's like when you lose a guy, you're done. You're done. You have to start the level over. It'll just keep going until you run out of energy. Just hit escape, start again. That right there is strike one.
Yeah.
I hated
That's
that.
the worst part of the game for me.
I hated the fact that if you lose one guy,
it would be like playing Crazy Taxi, and if you mess up one time, you'd have to start over.
I mean, and especially on like the first level, it's brutal. I mean, at any level, it's brutal. But when you're almost through the level and you accidentally land on somebody or you can't rescue them out of the water, and when that old guy goes down, you're right. I mean, he's gone. This guy, I don't know what he's been eating.
Well, he's an old guy.
He still can float. Good grief. So their levels change as you go on. Usually what they'll do is have more intricate paths to get people out. Sometimes you'll have to take your little flying machine and basically skim across the water on it. I mean, it can float. So you can go sideways on the water, and a lot of times you'll have to go through caves and water caves to pick people up. On some levels, the water will rise, always annoying. And you have to pick people up on a lower level before the water gets them. That happens early on, and you're like, the first time it happens, you're like, what's going on? And this was real creepy and wrong. The first time they had the water rising level, at the very bottom of the screen, a guy wants a taxi, and it's an old guy. So you've got to hurry. A second the screen starts, you got to hurry your ship down there to pick this old guy up, because once the water comes up past where he can get into your flying machine, he just dies.
Yeah.
And then the level's over, and you're like, what the heck just happened?
Right.
Too soon. Now, you've got some, aside from just flying around picking people up, you've got another thing you need to keep track of, which is your energy. Because pedaling this box around is exhausting, as you can imagine. I mean, I about fell apart today mowing the lawn, so I can imagine what this is like. So, you've got fruits. There's usually a tree on that level and a rock. And what you have to do when you need to replenish your energy is to get fruit. To get fruit, you have to take your rock, toss it out of your box, and it'll hit a tree and knock something out, and you can go eat it. The fruits are apples, lemons, oranges, bananas, cherries, pears, and strawberries.
Now, I actually did not know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that the button, I guess I never tried to push the button in the game.
How far did you get if you didn't know that?
I made it pretty far. I'm just that good.
I can't believe it. So when the rock hits the tree, the fruit falls out, you go pick it up and you replenish your energy. And you can get a couple for 2 or 3 fruit if you have to. But here's the thing, and this is something else that plagued me. If you're carrying that rock, you can land right beside a passenger and they'll just stand there. They're not getting in. You have to dump that rock.
It's threatening to them.
No, it's no room. There's no room in the box. And so a lot of times if you don't pay attention, you'll be waiting for the sucker to get in. You're like, come on, come on, come on. And it's because you got that rock in there. You got to get the rock out. Now, if that was all the game had, pretty simple. So they got to add some critters.
Right.
Although not as many as you would expect. So. No. They've got opponents in here.
Because there's almost 70 levels in this game.
There's 69 levels, that's right. So the first thing you come across is the pterodactyl. This is very similar.
How do you say that?
Pterodactyl? How do you say it? I'm reading it just like they've got it spelled.
The P's silent, Aaron. You never learned that in school, pterodactyl?
I know what a pterodactyl is, but I don't.
That's what that is.
Listen, they call this guy the Trioporus. That's a fake name too. I didn't know it was a real name or not.
That's how you spell it. That's pterodactyl.
Doesn't matter. Hey, you know about the fruit? You're giving me business about the P?
I got to get back at you somehow for not knowing about the fruit. So,
if you've seen the guy, also I get him confused on where the heck that is in Joust. That's what he reminds me of. The guy, you ever played Joust?
Yeah, I think, isn't he like a condor or something?
He's got a name.
Yeah.
It's pterodactyl. That's what it is. I don't know. I made that up. I don't know what it's called. But anyway, in Joust, the thing comes across the screen and tries to eat you. And this pterodactyl comes across and just gets in your way, basically. So
Maybe he's Russian. Pterodactyl.
It almost always happens when you're landing to pick up a passenger. Here he comes.
Yeah.
Right in your way.
And he's big, too. I mean,
big.
he's massive.
Now, the good news is, if he gets irritating enough, you can drop the rock on him, and he'll go away for a while. But he'll come back. So he's annoying. Then the second guy you're going to come across is the dinosaur. The dinosaur doesn't really attack you. He's just sleeping. But his snoring screws up your machine. It basically blows you across the thing. It's a real pain in the butt. Mm-hmm. And then the last guy is a guy, and they've got 2 names for him, so your mileage may vary. I've got Trioporus, and then I've also got Triops. But basically, he's a dinosaur, a horned dinosaur that he just stands around, right? If you're past, you're standing beside him, he doesn't care. But when that machine comes down, he gets pissed off, and he tries to run you over. That's basically what happens. So you've got to get out of the way, or he'll screw you up. And so those guys are scattered throughout the levels. The one thing you have to do often with the Trioporus, which I don't know why they didn't just call him a Triceratops, but that's what they've got, Trioporus.
Maybe that's the German name for it.
It could be, man. It's probably the guy who wrote these docs just misspelled it. Has all that. But you have to hit him with the rock, stun him, pick the passenger up, take off before he wakes up.
It gets real complicated and intricate. Not really complicated, but you have to be very adept at the maneuvers.
Yeah. Now, again, we mentioned there were 69 levels, and the levels are again, I played about the first. I cheated my way through at the first 20 levels, and I skipped around. Mm-hmm. Okay, there are some things that get added later on, like levels. There'll be levels that their sign is blank, and so someone will request to go to one of the blank levels where you can end up going to the wrong one. There's some levels where the pattern you take to get places is real important. There's some levels that you have to go basically almost underwater. If you go quick enough, you can kind of sink your ship and go under ledges and stuff. But one thing this game doesn't do very well is mix it up. We've played several games with this sort of, not this exact kind of gameplay, but a game where what was that game we played where you had to go around and rescue those people? It was multiple screens and they were real tiny.
The Merry Men.
Yeah. What was that? Do you remember the name of that game? I can't remember off the top of my head. But
it was the game with the Merry Men.
Yeah, but that game was far more...
Chat, if you can recall.
It was far more... there was a lot more variables and stuff going on.
I agree. I think there's a lot of similarities.
It does, because the
titles.
characters are tiny. This is a much easier game, all right? And it's not easy.
Much more accessible. I mean, you can jump right in and know what you're supposed to do immediately.
That game had a lot more gameplay going forward. And as I looked at the reviews for this, I saw this come up more than once. So I felt about the same way.
Benefactor.
Thanks,
you. Duncan.
This game has a lot of similarities because you're rescuing people. In Benefactor, and in this you're moving them. It's basically the same thing. I like the plot of this. I'm always a sucker for these like taxi cab type games. I like the music. I like the graphics. I liked most of everything about it. But I have to admit that after playing it for a while, it just kind of got boring to me. And even with cheating to skip levels that I'd already played over and over, I don't know how much it was fun for a quick throwdown, but I don't know how much I want to go back to it. Now that said, 2 players looks like a lot of fun, where you're sort of helping each other pick up all the passengers. There's even a few 2-player only levels that you can go to. I like the idea it's got simultaneous play. I think you could have expanded on this concept quite a bit. You could have even gotten some joust type action in with 2 players, if you ask me, or had a way to, just change the backgrounds. They get kind of stale. You know what I'm saying? The caves over and over again. I'd like to have seen something else after a while. What did you think?
Yeah, all of your complaints are sound and valid, which is an odd thing for me to say.
Finally success.
I think that this game, when I first started playing it, I was like, man, this is going to be one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, you sent me a text message like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then 15 minutes later, I had the exact same revelation that you did, where it's like literally the whole game is doing the exact same thing in the exact same environment, just with something more stuff in your way. They make a big deal about your lady at the beginning of this game. Your lady might as well just be another guy. Like, she doesn't do anything different than the rest of the people. She's just another passenger to pick up.
I wasn't even sure that was his lady. I just thought it was a lady.
Well, it says introducing Bird in the cutscene before the second level, so I assume that that's her name. It would have been nice if they would have integrated, her more into the story. Maybe make her an obstacle where she's throwing. What do you say? She throws at you irons and things or whatever.
No, that she wants that stuff.
She wants that stuff anyway. Maybe so. Maybe just reinforce the misogyny a little bit more.
I knew it was coming.
But yeah, it's ultimately. I mean, I hate to say this, but it's a disappointment. A disappointment.
And there's tons of room for more creatures, different maps. What would have been great scrolling screen, maybe like Benefactor.
Yeah.
And if that's not possible, other caveman cabins that are trying to pick up your fares. That aren't 2 players. If it's the 2-player aspect, clearly you could have 2 on the screen at once. Why not have a guy stealing your fares? Why not make the levels a little more open?
Now, I will tell you this: without having read the docs, I believe that there is a multiplier involved. If you drop off somebody early, you get a thing with an X on it. And
that's
I think
right.
that multiplies
that's
your
just
score.
like Crazy Taxi, it's the same way.
Yeah, but I mean, we didn't mention that before, but that's something else.
And it flies out when you get there quick enough.
Let me be more positive. The way that your craft controls is excellent.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for any kind of lunar lander type game.
Yes.
I like that sort of thing.
Yes.
And the way that the physics are implemented is very, very impressive. Like you said, you have upward momentum. As you press that stick up, you feel your velocity increasing.
And the way you hit the water and float, that's really, that's some high-level stuff.
The engine, the physics engine, if you will, behind the game is sound.
Yeah, absolutely.
That part of the game is excellent.
Yeah. I would have liked to have seen the game. One thing about this game is, again, if you miss one guy, you're boned. Okay? So, which I don't like. give me some more guys. And often you'll finish a level and you'll see another guy coming out. It's like, what's going on? But I mean, I would sit at levels until I died and nothing would ever happen. And I've read some of the reviews and they said the same thing. I thought maybe it was just me, but it's not. The levels this game gets tedious. When you're going back to the levels, for whatever reason, I don't find it that fun to play the game as it is. I don't know what it is. It's an X factor. I don't know what would have made it better for me.
I think if they would have, it's literally the exact same background, the exact same rocks, just in a different pattern in every stage.
And I skipped forward to into the 60s to see if
Me too. It never changes.
And it's there's more water. There's more. The caves are different, and they're tougher to get to.
But the color scheme, everything about the stages, it's like they had a tile set and they're just rearranging the tiles.
I think they didn't do enough with the prehistoric angle. I'd like to have seen more stuff, more critters. I'd like to have seen something that just hounded you instead of that pterodactyl. I'd like to see something that just follows you around, or dinosaurs that, instead of just sleeping. Aside from that one guy, I'd like to see the guy just come out and try to bite you.
Oh yeah.
I think they got a real good idea, threw it down, and then that was it. I noticed that the guy that did the levels in this, which I actually have his name here, at least he did some of the levels, was a guy named Peter Schmitz. He had only one of the game was credit on the Amiga, and it was as a play tester. So I'm wondering about his credentials as a level designer, because again, the level designers just there wasn't a big enough mix for me. Now again, there may be limitations, but I doubt it. I think they just didn't add enough stuff in. You could have had lightning strikes electrifying a ledge when you're on it. You could have had people that you had to, there were a lot of things they could have done to make it more interesting.
I think it would have been a cool bonus game or bonus stage to have. You start out, you've got a platform and you've got a bunch of people on there, and you've got to, take as many as you can to different spots above.
Right.
There's tons of things you
or
could do.
Or they could have
this.
like a fire. Fire. And they could he had to rescue people out of the fire. That would be cool.
Yeah.
They did the flood. But again, you can only do so much with what they've got.
Right.
So it was. I know some were beating a dead horse, but yeah, it was. I didn't think it was that much fun after I started playing it. So, and I guess if you're really, really good at it, you might enjoy the challenge of it. But I wasn't good enough.
It lost its luster pretty quick. Yeah.
So I'll take a look at the scores on this. I think we're going to be in line with these scores, Bo. The people over at Lemon gave it a 7.79, which again is pretty good for the Lemon crowd. Amiga Action gave it a 74. Amiga Format gave it an 88.
That's high.
Amiga Power gave it a 79.
Because remember, Amiga Format is the wacky one where 50% is like a great game or a good game.
CU Amiga gave it a 58, and the One gave it a 71. I would put my score probably in the 70s.
Yeah, I'd say it's a solid 75.
It's a playable game. It's attractive. I like the plot. I like the look of it. I like the sound.
It's got a good beat. You can dance to it.
But it's not. And I'm not a guy that needs a lot of deep gameplay. But even as an arcade game, I would find this a little bit lacking. I looked this up on eBay. Rare is the word I would use. I found. Now they did have this released as a demo disc. But I did see a guy selling that, but I never count those. The only copy I saw currently available was in Italy, and the guy was asking $186 for the box copy. He had it billed as a CD-TV version, which piqued my interest, but then once you read the description, it says A500-CD-TV, so I guess...
Did the CD-TV have a disc drive? Doesn't it have a CD?
It didn't have one out of the box. No, and it's a disc because he showed to open the box. That's why I looked. I was like, man, did this get a CD-TV release that I didn't know about? And no, it did not. But it will play if you have the disc drive. But overall, as far as the Caveman games we listed, I would probably put it somewhere in the I don't know, Chuck Rock, probably just below Chuck Rock in my Caveman Hall of Fame. But like I said, the little characters are well animated. The opening's funny, and they have personality. I'll give them that. I think this would be another game that you could come back to in like a portable system, like an iOS or an Android, and you could really spice this up and release it, and it would be a good idea to come back to it.
Cool. Aaron, it's time to talk about Amigathon.
Okay.
So Amigathon is coming up in just over a month, July 7th, 2018.
That's crazy.
Amigathon is our annual charity fundraiser where we play Amiga games non-stop for 12 plus hours. We've already had several $100 worth of donations already. If you'd like to donate, you can click on the link in the description of either the podcast or the video if you're watching on YouTube. And we're doing it through Extra Life to benefit Children's Miracle Network hospitals. For every $1 that you donate, Aaron and I will play 1 minute of your favorite Amiga game or your least favorite Amiga game. There are some games I wonder we're going to be playing if they're people's favorites or ones that they want to punish us with. But also you can decide whether your money should go to Aaron getting the pie in the face or me getting the pie in the face. Or, conversely, traversely, you can say, I want you and Aaron to have a high score challenge on this game, and the loser gets the pie in the face. So that's a popular option because right now Aaron is winning in the. I don't want to get a pie in the face. So anyway, that is Amigathon. Do you have any words to say about Amigathon, Aaron?
I'm happy with the amount of interest we've already gotten. It's awesome.
It's going to start earlier this year. We're going to start at 6:30 a.m. Eastern, so it should let those of you in Europe continue to watch us later on into the night than last year. So we're looking forward to that.
It's for a good cause. All the money goes directly to charity, and it always makes me feel happy every time we do it. When we did it last year, I had a nice, happy feeling. It's lasted, and I'm ready to renew the feeling.
Yeah.
Doing it again.
Yeah.
I wasn't happy about the pie, but everything else I was excited
And we're going to
about.
have the same cast of characters. Aaron and I will be there the whole time, of course, but we'll have some of the wacky folks that live in our juncture come and visit us.
Yep.
So yeah, Amigathon. I'd also like to thank Chris Folds. For he is an Amigos Game Selection Committee member on Patreon, and he is the one that suggested we play this title. So thank you, Chris, very much.
Folds.
Yeah, and I'd like to congratulate Mr. Pixels at Dawn for winning our last Patreon song challenge.
Gosh, what was it?
It was "Come Sail Away" by
it.
Styx.
You know what got me on that? I didn't know what it was until you did the drum solo.
Was that it?
I was like, oh, it's Come
So
Sail Away.
what if I do? No, I'm not even going to do it because you just gave me an idea for a future episode or a future song.
All right.
But not today's song.
Oh, we got one today?
So, we have a Patreon page, Aaron, patreon.com/Amigos Podcast, and all of our Patreon supporters, if you donate to us at the supporter level, you get to become part of the illustrious list that gets included in the Patreon song.
Illustrious list.
That's right. Like I said, we've got some new names on it this week. If you know this week's Patreon song, please send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com, and I will announce all of the winners next week.
Very good.
So here we go. Roland Burke, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, John Cook, Dan Ross, Leaf Killand, Alan Kebab, Donald Tyler, Level Lord, John Marshall, Matthew Perron, Ricky DeRocha, Creepy Dead Boy, Figgy CTC, The Slow Norris, Stefan Sorgard Martinson, Edvin Hillan, Blindo75, Christopher Hessel, Ravi Abbott, Chris Foles, Dreamcatcher, Lauren Giroux, Graham, Vebke, Brent, Dowdy Lane, Dinson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's, Retro and Vintage, Gary Hucker, C. Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Duncan Stiles, Alan Kebab, Anthony Jarvis, Tapes from the Crypt, Josh Nan, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim Tommy, Humbert Stott, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Warrens, Pixels at Dawn, and Kjol Bjorn Barman.
Wow. You really, really wasted it out there at the end, didn't you? So you've got, and I got nothing to say about that. That was beautiful, man.
Well, thank you.
That brought a tear to a glass eye.
I worked on it all week.
Oh man, that's scary.
All right, Aaron. Next week, who knows what we're going to play?
I was gonna.
We'll just leave it up to your imagination.
No, we don't have any clue, do we?
No, we know, but we don't know.
We know, but we're not telling nobody.
Yeah, because I've forgotten.
That's what you looked at all week on that.
Yeah, I spent too much time on the. But we want to remind you all that we do record the show live every Friday, except when we don't.
Which is we're not recording next week.
We are recording next week on Friday.
Are we?
Yep.
Okay.
We're back to back 2 weeks. And so please join us if you can. We usually start recording around 5:30 p.m. Eastern. And just like the fine folks in the chat, like Edvin Helland, Duncan Styles, Necro Nom, Paul H., Trey Guard was in there,
Creepy
My
Dead
Chicken
Boy,
Not Raw,
Daniel.
Creepy Dead Boy, Daniel Quarter, whole bunch of fine folks in the chat. The chat is always very active, and that's another benefit of being a Patreon supporter is you get access to our Discord channel where we're talking retro and Amiga and all kinds of nonsense 24/7.
There's all kinds of crazy crap on there.
Yeah, I love
some
Discord.
Of it's just like
Discord is
fitness thing and books.
Yeah, Discord is the best thing. It's my favorite part of every day because, after you get done, you finish teaching a class like I do and you're all worn out. You just slump back in your seat and you're waiting for the next class to come in. I just click on the old Discord icon. I'm transported to a wonderland of awesome.
Is that what that is?
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Oh, God.
All right, Aaron. It's time to say goodbye. We'll see you all next week, folks. Until then, adios. All right.